So this message is for all of humanity and specifically the US. My intention for this message is to hopefully bring the conversation to a place of unity amongst everybody here, especially in the United States, because obviously the division right now is getting crazy. All right. Could we just all at some level come to the table, even for just a moment, and take a breath together and unite and harmonize in this fact? And I'm not going to say something spiritual like we are all one human family, even though that's true. I want to take it to a different place. And that is this. We, since we have been little children, have been so psychologically manipulated and programmed and conditioned and pitted against each other. I'm amazed by this because when tragedies happen, we just go at each other. We fight. We divide more. We jump onto our tribes and it's a political thing. And it's like, no. That's not what's happening here. How do we keep falling for this over and over and over? We have been so manipulated at a deeper level than we could ever imagine, at the level of the subconscious, to keep us in inner conflict with one another. Sometimes I think about this and I think about the shadow control system and those who have been pulling the strings on humanity and steering the storyline, which we're breaking out of. It's the Aquarian age, but it's amazing to me how susceptible we are to this psychological manipulation. We have all, again, at a very deep level, been psychologically damaged and traumatized, and we've been desensitized. And violence is this normal thing. And drama is what sells. Drama is what gets the views and the clicks. And we just keep falling for it again and again and again. It's insane. And I'm not saying this from a place of holier than thou. I get it. My point here is that what we should be doing is all coming together in the recognition of, wow, we have been screwed since we were little tiny children and programmed to see the world in a certain way, to be victims, and especially here in the US, we are more manipulated by the mass media than any other country, and it's not even close. We're like one of the only countries that Big Pharma is allowed to advertise. So since we were little children, we have been manipulated to think that we are victims, we need pills, people are out to get us. There needs to be more governmental control. There's terrorists trying to kill you everywhere. People in other countries are bad. And we think, oh, we're adults and we have a mind of our own. We can think on our own. And it's like, no, we are highly programmed, right? So then these tragedies happen. We get emotionally triggered and we snap right back into the programming, into the hypnosis of division. And we immediately get disconnected from truth, which is, you're me, I'm you. We are all one. We're all unique expressions of the one energy, but yet we fall into the trap of tribalism, which is what fractures us and allows us to be controlled. It allows us to be steered and coerced emotionally. It's like they just play the same page out of the same playbook over and over, and we just keep following it. War, race stuff, civil war here in this country. Fight each other, left wing versus right wing. It's so dumb. And we're not dumb. We're just dumbed down and numbed down. And that's why it's so important to create space and do the inner work and clear these things out so that you can actually think for yourself. If you're charged up and you're looking at the other side and you're saying this, they do this and they think this way and it's their fault, you're off the mark. One of the beautiful things here is that we see things differently. People have different opinions and viewpoints on stuff, right? But can we just all agree that we have been under a very high level psychological manipulation that is very purposely orchestrated, exactly for the purposes of keeping us at this level of frequency in conflict in the root chakra, in the lower chakras, so we're not connected to our heart. We're not in that place of oneness. We're outside of truth. It's like in our own journey of transformation, right? When we start to change our frequency and we start to become a new person, what happens? The old frequency, the old you, the ego, starts freaking out, and it starts to use the thought forms, the familiar thought forms that it's always been able to pull you with to get back in control. And it keeps doing that until you no longer respond to it. And then that's when real change starts to happen, when you show that part of you that you are not in control by that anymore because you don't respond to it. You don't let it take your emotional energy. That's true transformation, right? And on the bigger collective level, this is what's happening. It's like, can we stop emotionally reacting and all literally come together and unify under this truth that our minds have been distorted on a massive scale, on a level of propaganda that is just unfathomable, that billions and billions of dollars, trillions of dollars have been put behind in order to maintain a certain level of control of the narrative of this planet. Come on. What are we doing? And there's people upset that there's folks that are celebrating this tragedy because of the way that this guy saw things and the words that he used. And to me, I'm like, yeah, of course, when you have someone as a villain in your story and you're cut off again from the truth and the connection to all people, that you're them and they're you, and the villain gets killed, you celebrate it. The movies tell us that. That's what we grew up with. And so you have to ask yourself, why is this person a villain in my story? Why have I dehumanized them? Is that person not a father with children? Is this person loved by others and he has hopes and dreams and flaws just like I do? Ladies and gentlemen, this is basic level stuff. And at the same time, it's just showing us the level of distortion that's been very purposely put into the collective field. And guess what? When that control system feels threatened, what do? Oh, they beat the drum of war. They give you a disease to worry about. They spike violence and blast it all over the news. To me, when we start seeing this a lot, that is an old system that is terrified of humanity waking up and getting back in their power. It's the Wizard of Oz. It's Oz right now is freaked out. They have to maintain a level of illusion to keep us down in the lower energy fields so that we're not in truth, and so we stop feeding into the system, and then they have nothing to rule over. They have no power anymore because every person has started to tap into their divine power. That is what we should all be coming to the table with and talking about, instead of continuing these conversations at the small self level, which is a revolving door. It's like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and we just keep doing it. Why? Again, I get it. There's compassion. It happens inside of all of us. We do it with our own behavioral patterns and addictions and behaviors that we're trying to transcend, right? And we get lulled back to sleep. We get lulled back into the programming of our ego, and it's fed by the media as it's been since we were children, and it's very powerful. I tip my cap to it, but at the same time, when you start knowing your power, it is nothing. The light of truth is like, because that system relies on illusion. It needs you to think that you are the small self and you have no power, and that you need the system to live. No. That is what is going away. All right? So if you're watching this and there's any, like, even good humans that I'm connected to, I see them getting pulled into this. And they're like, yeah, but he was a terrible person and he had these views and he said these things. And it's like, that's not the conversation. The conversation is people are getting killed for using their voice, and we need to see the manipulation of the media system that is victimizing all of us. And how long are we going to let that happen? And why are we not making that the main conversation? Why are we not making the main conversation that the government, which is supposed to be the representatives of the people, they get aid from other countries? The politicians are bought by foreign interests. This whole AIPAC stuff, I'll admit, I didn't know the level that was going on. And then when that came to light, I was like, what? That's crazy. That should be something that all of us, doesn't matter what wing of the bird you're on, that we should be like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not allowed. And any politician who's representing the people of this country and they're getting aid from foreign countries that don't have our best interest, because theirs is always going to come first, we cannot allow them to be in office. That's a complete conflict of interest. Are you kidding me? That's so basic. When are we going to wake up and realize that, or come together on that and have that be the real conversation instead of the squabbling at the lower levels of the small self and running in the circles of the racial stuff and the gun issues and the abortion issues? Like, we just keep circling on the same thing every year, every election. And it's like, when are we going to break that cycle? When are we going to do it? Every one of us has to break our own cycles within us to be able to come to the table, not being emotionally charged and ruled over by your emotions, but to be like, hey, none of this actually makes sense. All right? And guess what? We can't keep going this way. We cannot allow this to keep going, right? This violence, these things that we're seeing, a lot of it, there's intention behind it to fracture and divide, of course, but also it is the outpicturing of a very traumatized and wounded society, of a declining society that is losing a sense of community, that's losing the connection with each other. So can we see that just like a doctor that's taking care of a family or a group of humans that notices symptoms and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I have to treat the root issue here, or else this is going to get worse and this is going to spread and infect other people. Okay, I got to get to the root. I got to find the solution and treat everybody with the medicine that's going to heal this. We've got to stop operating from the egoic level and start to tap into our divine nature and start to realize we are one with all things. And not just say that, but actually practice it. When somebody has a viewpoint that is way different than yours, to maintain that level of curiosity, to maintain the open conversation, and to seek to understand, right? It's like people who have opposing views, look at all the people that we love now, the Gandhis, the Jesuses, the Buddhas, like during their times when they were speaking a level of truth that called out the egoic personalities all around them, it triggered them. They were afraid to lose the Pharisees were afraid to lose their power. They're like, we got to kill this guy. He's way too much of a threat. We might lose our standing. People might not take us seriously anymore. And they killed him. This has been going on for so long. And we're at a tipping point where we're starting to, get out of the dark ages of that. But it's like, really? We're going to keep falling for that? I have this visual of those beings that are at, let's say, the top of the pyramid. They're not going to be in there much longer, but they're up there and they're like, yes, okay, we're starting to notice things are harmonizing. People are coming together. All right, let's create a racial crime. And then let's blast it on the media and get everybody divided. Works so well every time. Shit, that's not working as well. Okay, public execution of a very polarizing figure that would create massive political divide. Play that one out. Ah, got him. That was easy. All we had to do was kill one guy. And now look at millions of people fighting each other. We're so much better than that. And I have so much compassion for the young people, the young generations. They have been more programmed and hypnotized by the media than anybody else. And so I get why they think the way that they do. I totally get it. And I really feel like it's on us, and there's a responsibility where it's like we got to help with that, because my generation was one of the fortunate ones that still knew what life was like and childhood was like before the technology piece came in and started to warp our brains and get us addicted, which is a whole other conversation. It's like we have the brightest minds and the most money on the planet going towards this manipulation, keeping people addicted, keeping people disconnected, keeping people fighting each other, keeping people in the lower chakras of sexuality and immediate gratification. And we got to do something about this. We got to talk about it. We got to come to the table and stop the stupid political debate that gets us nowhere. It's the same shit. Aren't we so bored of it? And then a politician comes along and he's like, I'm going to be the change. I'm going to drain the swamp. I'm going to do this and that. And they just do the same thing all the other ones did. Come on. Like, and I fell for that too. I've fallen for it several times in my life. We all have. So can't we all come together in that trickery, that illusion? Let's pull the curtain on Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz, the Wizard of Oz, and see it for what it is and start to take our power back. Come on. You know? Now I'm imagining it. You pull the curtain back and it's Dr. Oz, and I'm like, that actually is perfect. So I know my channel isn't typically these kinds of messages, but my heart was like, I got to share this. I got to share this. So sending lots of love to you out there. I've got some very potent things to share with you coming soon. And, you know, as I've said on this channel many times, we're purging survival, right? So survival is at the forefront for a lot of people right now. There's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of things being released. And you got to cultivate a level of presence and see it for what it is and release the thing, not get ruled by your emotions, and to the best of your ability, stay grounded, meditate, hydrate, get out into nature, surround yourself with some good people, and just keep tuning into the truth as much as you can to keep yourself anchored in that so you can see beyond the distortion and you're above the weeds of the collective energy, and you see things for what they are, and you hold your light so that you can bring that for other people, because sometimes we just need a little bit more of that light so we can see through the darkness. We just maybe need a little bit more light where we're like, oh, okay, I see it now. Okay, got it. Wow. It was actually right in front of me, but it was just a little bit too dark to see it. So that match that someone lit by being in their truth and their love and their light and their connection, their heart chakra, was enough to give clarity to people, to pull them out of the hypnosis. All right, I love you guys. I'll see you soon.